Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with your host Jay. Today is Monday, so that means it is time for the Panel by Panel Comics review for the books I pulled for the week of April 1st, 2026. I have 7 books this week, a lighter total than last week by a good bit. 9 less books compared to a week ago. We only have 7. And coming in at number 7, we have Batgirl. This is issue number 17, or issue number 18, excuse me. A 32-page comic for the price of $5. We kick off right where we left off with Wu Lin kind of being the body to lead into the spirit world. So this issue follows Cassie going into the spirit world, and she meets an older Wu Lin after fighting off against a couple creatures. We find the Blood Master Wu Lin, who's living in, or currently residing in the spirit world. By the way, Zatanna, can't wait for that book to come out. Really looking forward to that. It's written and drawn by Jamal Campbell. Should be really fun. But we continue on with the story, getting back to it. Cassie and the gang, they tag along with Wu Lin, and we find out that Wu Lin is in the spirit world because his own blood betrayed him. His father wants to get back to being a human again, as we see here elsewhere, him and the woman in the photo, or woman in the comic. I can't remember her name, but I just know their job is to try to get Wu Lin's father to inherit his body. And Cassie and the group is going to try to make sure that that does not happen. A blood ninja tries to jump Cassie as well while they're on the move trying to get back to the portal, and they find out that it's her mom, or at least it appears to be her mom. Cassandra really thinks it's her mom, and they find out that her mom had been in the spirit world, and she doesn't fully see her, but has a strong feeling that her mom just saved her life. And it looks like the next issue is going to be a big old fight between all of Cassie's family and Wu Bing, who is that woman's name. That's why I couldn't remember it. So many different Wus. But personally for me, it wasn't good enough, and the story doesn't entice me enough to buy another issue and continue on with Batgirl. Batgirl for me, issue number 18 is a C. I will not be continuing Batgirl anymore. I read the first 2 issues for this new jumping on point, The Curse of the Blood, and it's not good enough for me personally. Next, my number 6 book of the week, we have Deluge. This is issue number 5, 32 pages for $5. This is the finale issue to Deluge, and this is also Ignition Press's first book to complete publication, the first miniseries to actually get through all issues that it needs to complete. But we pick up right back with these sea monsters, killing all these women prisoners, and it's later found out that these creatures are drawn to sin, and we see this one of these female prisoners whooping the monsters really badly and killing a couple, killing as many as she can, trying to escape from these creatures. But this is the scene where we find out that that woman, she apologized for the sins that she did to her mom, who appeared as one of the monsters. And after that, she kind of is like, I'm sorry. And the monster stops right in front of her face. And then it jumps to the other lady that's trying to kill all the different monsters. She tries her best, gives it a good go, but inevitably it's presumed that she dies off panel and off the book. So we know the monsters did their work. They killed a whole lot of people. And overall, it was a solid horror miniseries from Ignition Press. And in my opinion, I give Deluge a B-. If you want to buy the trade for this, it's a good horror miniseries from Cullen Bunn. The first to complete for Ignition Press. That's just really cool that I picked up all 5 issues for what is their first series that they are completely done with. Next, this might come as a bit of a surprise, but I have a DC book. This is Batman, issue number 8. Now, it's a transitional issue between story arcs. This is kind of establishing the next story for Batman and for the Bat family, as it appears that Vandal Savage is going to be one of the biggest villains for this next story arc. There's 3 different stories told in this one issue. We have Alan Scott and Batman having coffee. We have Mayor Poison Ivy and Vandal Savage discussing terms about a potential partnership. And then you have Jack Dean talking to Houston Gray just about life and the responsibility about different real-world topics. But the main story is Alan Scott and Batman talking about Vandal Savage and why is he still in Gotham? Why hasn't he left yet? How can we try to just get rid of this annoying Vandal Savage? And they found out or their conclusion that they came to was that he can't go back in time, and that for some reason he is stuck here, and that is why he is choosing Batman to be his number one villain or whatever, his number one enemy. And he has this conversation with Poison Ivy about, we will back you no matter what, Mayor Ivy, if you can just come to the conclusion that undoubtedly Batman is Gotham's number one enemy. And Pamela, she signs on. So it looks to be that Batman's issues are only going to get even more difficult. But overall, it was a solid issue. It was a very solid issue. A whole lot of pages of dialogue and not as much action as I would want in a comic book. But that makes sense because of the necessity of this issue. So even though it's lower on my rankings, it's still a good book and it's a meaningful filler story. I gave it a B minus, or I gave it a B, excuse me. It was still a really good book, and I understand why you need to have books like that to continue on with the story. It can't just be continuous action every single book. But a book that has been continuous action, and I've actually been very surprised with, is Arcadia. This is issue number 4 from Ignition Press. 32 pages, $5 for this comic book. We see the continued growth of Halu and Fix's relationship coming from the previous issue. And we kind of got a key into Fix's previous memories. And apparently these two might have known each other before the apocalyptic event. And we fast forward only a year later into the future, and the couple are arguing because Halu used the Neuronaton again, which is that head device from this series that can tell the memories through the gemstones inside of these Arcadian creatures' minds. And Fix is really upset by it. They're arguing, and she just doesn't want him to use that device. Then we see this biker gang come to Fix's shop, looking for someone that rides a bike and someone that has a map that they are looking for. We come to meet this dude. His name is Roke, Rouke. Don't know how to really pronounce that. But he tells us these different stories about how he's been cheating death and live life to the fullest. People will tell you, just let fate show its cards to you and just live your life to the fullest. And it's a really good just moral story. He lists all these different things. In my opinion, this comic had one of the best quotes of the week. It said, "In other words, kid, always let fate show its cards first. Take your hand to the grave." I think that's a very fair and a very good quote to take in life. But then we go back to the next day after they got pissed drunk and Halu is throwing up everywhere, has one of the worst hangovers of his life. And they come back to Fix's garage and the biker gang shot their cats. I was like, why? Why would you do such a thing? It's very frustrating. But whenever Halu and Roke come back, they end up killing all the gang members, and Roke is like, hey, we need to leave. I have this map and it'll take us to the whatever city. What does he call it? It's like a phantom city. The city of immortals is real. Arcadia exists, and I have the map to get there. That's what these bastards want. Come with me. I dragged you into this mess, but in return I offer you immortality. So a really good cliffhanger. I really like what the Miranda brothers are doing with this issue and with this story as a whole. Arcadia issue number 4, I gave a solid B. Next, we have part 6 of 9 of the Death Spiral event. This is Venom issue 256, a 32-page comic for the price of $5. Al Ewing, everybody a part of the Spider-Man, I guess, editorial crew, is killing it with this Death Spiral event. We immediately get started with Dylan and Paul fighting off Torment, and Paul basically stabs Torment's hand to kill the Shocker's blast waves. And Torment, as Paul is yelling to Dylan to run, he says, just so you know, whoever you are, this is a big spoiler. Heads up, this is a massive spoiler if you have not read this story. You could have lived through this, as he plunges a knife into the chest, the upper abdomen region of Paul, and Paul is dead in the ASM and MCU, or the Marvel Comic Universe. Just absolutely insane. I mean, Torment, he has these final words of Paul. He's like, I'm his family, whatever. And it's just so funny. Not funny, but it's sad how Torment says, you're not on the spiral. You're not on anyone's spiral. I've never met a person who's so unconnected. And that really made me feel bad for Paul. I know he's one of the more hated comic characters that has been introduced in recent years, but I really felt for him right there. That's so sad. And he understands, like, this isn't, I was never supposed to be here. This isn't my world. And he dies. So Paul is dead. Venom crashes in, and MJ definitely has some feelings that were suppressed, and she feels very emotional about it. But Torment continues to chase after Dylan. And then we get Carnage fighting Torment, and that was a really good little battle, only for Carnage to get pissed about Eddie potentially sparing the life of Torment, and Carnage is like, no, that's it. I can't do this anymore. I can't take it, Eddie. I've given you every last straw. I can't do this anymore. And he now bonds with Torment, and now you have the red symbiote and Torment combining at the very end for a new sort of Carnage arc and Torment character. Still no reveal for who the Torment character is, but this was such a good comic book. I have Venom coming in as a B+ for this comic book week. Now we are down to the final three. Kicking off the top three, we have Absolute Superman. This is issue number 18. New story arc with the Absolute Black Adam character being introduced. We start with his origin, and it's a very similar origin to how every Black Adam story goes. It is very sad. His whole family gets killed, and he was abducted by Brainiac and created in their experimental tech that does work off. We see the results of that at the very end. But we then jump back to the main story with Clark on the farmland, and we see that he keeps Parasite as a pet. Jimmy is still shaken up over the whole Parasite invasion. And then we see that Lois is investigating the Al Ghuls, and she has found where they are, which is just, what are you doing, Lois? You're just putting yourself in the line of fire. There's no need for that. And then Talia gets there, and she comes head-to-head with, Lois gets there and goes head-to-head with Talia. And Talia's there with Roz, just trying to get him to jump into the Lazarus pits. And she brings him there, and he's like, thank you so much. I now have the strength to do what must be done. And he starts just smashing the thing over and over and over. And he destroys the Lazarus pit, and Talia's like, you have gone mad. What the hell are you doing? And Ra's al Ghul is like, only once I was alone at death's door did I see what a fool I'd been. I pray there's still time to make amends. It starts with the destruction of this obscene machine. And Ra's destroys the Lazarus pits. But then, after they get into a little skirmish, Talia and Lois, this dude in a big old suit with a big ass hammer comes in, knocks the Peacemakers just senseless, gets in with ease, and then he starts bashing in this concrete thing that has been containing what we find out to be King Shazam, otherwise known as Black Adam. So cool. Superman gets there and he's like, I don't know what the hell to do. And we leave on a cliffhanger for what is to be a great start to this new story arc of Jason Aaron. Absolute Superman, I thought, was the third best comic book to come out this week. I gave it an A-. Great job from Jason Aaron. New artists on it as well. I thought the art held up with what Jose Ferreira has been doing previous with the Absolute Superman 2-issue mini arc that he did. But coming in at number 2, we have DC Poison Ivy issue number 43. Now, I saw this wasn't highly ranked on League of Comic Geeks. It had like a 3.4. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. You'll see what my letter grade is at the end of this little grading period. But we see Ivy and Harley break up their story about what happened the prior 6 months for why Poison Ivy and Harley were not together in the previous story. And it's basically Pamela thinks that Harley acts like a clown and would have ruined her bid for mayor. I know G. Willow Wilson, people say that she does not like Harley as a character and wants to ruin her. I think that's very harsh. I think if Poison Ivy can't succeed without one character, that isn't a good story for the character of Poison Ivy. Because she's a villain. A villain shouldn't need someone else in order to succeed. Like the Joker doesn't need Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn doesn't need Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy doesn't need Harley, yada, yada, yada. I think it was still a good decision to have them break up because there is probably a high likelihood that they will get back together. So I'm not that upset about it. But we get back to the main story here with Pamela. And she has a meeting with this guy who runs the sewers in Gotham. And she takes him down there. And of course, this is some dude that has never worked a day in his life. He just works in the corporate business. And while down there, she runs into Catwoman, who is... It kind of sucks that they kind of used her as cover bait. But she's literally in 2 pages, probably. She jumps on top of her and asks her, hey, what is your play with this whole government stuff running for mayor? And Pamela's pretty honest with her. She's just like, yeah, I'm just in this just to be safe. It was the only way to return to Gotham and make the city better is if I ran for mayor, because if not, she probably would have been killed or captured by Batman and thrown in jail. And that's a pretty good point. But we see Pamela go crazy on this dude after he keeps making excuse after excuse after excuse about why the plumbing and sewer system is so poor. So she just ends up turning him into a tree. And at the very end, or many people around Pamela are worried that she's starting to just to kill people. And I understand that because she definitely is going down a bad route. Peter Umbridge, the flower, that's the only way that I can really describe him. He's worried about it. Janet from HR is worried about it. A lot of people in her, I guess, administration are worried about it. But at the very end, we see the Hill, who is a character that is a part of the Parliament of Trees, and he warns Pamela that the Parliament might go to war, and it looks like that might be the story that we're going with Poison Ivy. So Poison Ivy issue number 43 was really good. Came in at number 2. I gave it a solid A. Now my pick of the week. This comes from my buy or sell video. I didn't know if it was going to be pick of the week, but after reading all my books this past week, it was the best one. Daredevil, issue number 1. If you want to go more in depth, go over to my buy or sell video. But it just had everything I wanted. The action was great. The art was great. The writing from Stephanie Phillips was great. I love the new character of Omen. It's already got me worried for Matt. Is he actually going to be able to defeat this person by himself? Is he going to need some help from other people? I don't know. I like that there was no Karen, no Foggy. This was simply a Matt Murdock issue number 1. And I appreciate that. You can introduce some other side characters later on. We saw Lauren Baker, a student at Empire State University. That looks to be a character that might be a central point, at least on the teacher side for Matt Murdock. And then we also saw Sari Ellison, who's the teacher that comes in after Matt, that looks to be another potential side character in this series. But Stephanie Phillips, Daredevil, issue number 1, that's my pick of the week. Guys, let me know down in the comments what your pick of the week was, and keep remembering to read those comics panel by panel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and a great start to a new comic book week.